Let me also tell you something that, Alhamdulillah, we are absolutely alert. We are absolutely in a position. Our armed forces are, ready. And there has been an attempt between the night 29th and 30th of April. We had credible news of some misplay or adventurism by Indian Air Force. Alhamdulillah, we made them to run back and turn back to India. Our Air Force moved swiftly, timely, and made them to run back and turn back to India. According to our information, they landed in hurry at Sri Lanka, at Srinagar. To hold the Indus Water Treaty in abeyance should be a matter of serious concern to the world community. The treaty provides no basis for such unilateral actions, as he explained. India's actions undermines the fundamental pillar of regional stability with profound implications for the peaceful management of vital shared resources between the neighbors. The National Security Committee of Pakistan, as I said, has made it abundantly clear on 24th of April 2025 that any attempt to stop or divert the flow of water belonging to Pakistan as per the Indus Water Treaty will be considered an act of war. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the international community must take serious note of these developments at a time when the region requires cooperation and restraint. Any tolerance for adventurism would only embolden further instability in this part of the globe. We must not forget that the unresolved Jammu and Kashmir dispute remains the primary source of volatility in South Asia. There is an urgent need for renewed and concerted efforts under United Nations auspices to secure a just, lasting, and peaceful resolution of this dispute in accordance with the relevant UN Security Council resolutions and the aspirations of the Kashmiri people. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the challenges being faced by our region as well as those at the global level can only be addressed through a renewed recourse to multilateralism. There is a need for universal and consistent adherence to the fundamental principles of the UN Charter, self-determination of the peoples, non-use of threat of force, respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states, non-interference in their internal affairs, and peaceful settlement of disputes. As I speak, millions of Palestinians are enduring unparalleled suffering. Thousands have lost their lives. Many more have been injured, and millions have been displaced. Humanitarian aid is being deliberately denied to millions in dire need, and humanitarian workers are being targeted with impunity. You have seen what's going on with UNRWA. You must speak and speak with one voice to demand an immediate and permanent ceasefire in Gaza and ensure free flow of humanitarian assistance and lifting of all barriers. We ourselves have been experiencing this problem. We have sent almost 1.5 consignments at different times. First, we were sending to Gaza through Egypt. Problems erupted. I had to engage Amman. We started sending consignments through Amman. Then issue expanded to Lebanon. We sent, our consignments to Lebanon and followed by Syria. So we have been experiencing, we are doing on pure humanitarian grounds. There's humanitarian assistance through the National Disasters Management Authority, who takes the lead in implementing the decisions of Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and the government in this regard. So, I personally believe that lasting peace in the region cannot be achieved without allowing Palestinians to exercise their inalienable right to self-determination for a viable, secure, contiguous, and sovereign state of Palestine on the basis of pre-1967 borders and with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital, in accordance with the relevant UN resolutions. The vicious cycle of poverty and rising global inequalities cannot be addressed unless we make head-on the inequalities in the international economic relations and take them head-on. There is an urgent need to reform the international financial architecture, which has been described by the UN Secretary General as morally bankrupt. Those who have the supply of resources and those who require the resources, there's a huge gap. I think it was perhaps with this vision that in our region, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank was initiated by China. We had been, I as Finance Minister between 2014 and 16, part of that exercise, and I am the signatory on behalf of Pakistan on that document which governs Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. The whole idea was the 70% population which requires multilateral funding has an access to around 30% funding from the multilateral global institutions and vice versa. Neither the Sustainable Development Goals nor the climate goals can be achieved without international cooperation. We have seen recent statements of some global powers. I don't know how much is relevant as of now, the climate funding and the climate change subject. I think we all have to wait patiently and see and watch and plan for our own country accordingly. Concrete actions are needed to help developing countries trapped in the liquidity crisis and debt distress by ensuring adequate concessional finances, rechanneling of unused SDRs, seeking a sustained increase in the lending capacity of the multilateral development banks, and funding of International Development Association, IDA. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, access to advanced technologies, especially digital technologies, must be available on the basis of equity and non-discrimination. Being one of the topmost climate vulnerable countries, Pakistan recognizes the critical need for the international cooperation to address the common challenges posed by climate change. We need enhanced global climate actions and international cooperation to mitigate the navigate impacts of climate change based on the established principles of equity and common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities, commonly known as CBDR-RC. The developed countries need to meet their climate finance commitments with a balanced focus on adaptation and mitigation, so as well as on loss and damage. I have my doubts the outcome with the global changes in the last year plus of the outcome and the decisions and the delivery with all the latest. I'm sure all of you would be pondering and would be assessing and would be, estimating what's going to happen. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Pakistan is alhamdulillah endowed with rich natural and human resources and an enormous economic potential. It is located at the crossroads of South Asia, Central Asia, and the Middle East. This I say as a faith. As a Pakistani, I have a faith that this country has the resilience and the potential to come back and be part of the big 20s. It is not too long away and long ago. It's only 2017. Eight years have passed. Where Pakistan stood at beginning of 2013. Macroeconomic unstable country. Google and find out. Projected to default 6 to 7 months. Google and find out. And country was predicted to default within 6 to 7 months. This is before general elections. Nobody knew who will win the elections. And what was the timeline? Shamshad is sitting here. What was the timeline? At that time projected that Pakistan would need to get out of the quagmire we were already landed in was 12 to 15 years. That's why I have faith in our nation, in our country, in our society. It took only 3 years. You had all macroeconomic indicators in place, lowest inflation in decades, CPI 3.59, GDP 6.3%, highest foreign exchange reserves close to $25 billion, which still has not been broken. 24th global economy. And it's not me, it's PricewaterhouseCoopers. Find out. PricewaterhouseCoopers projected Pakistan is going to be part of G20 not later than 2030.
आतिश न्यूज, पाकिस्तान के सबसे बड़े न्यूज नेटवर्क का हिस्सा बनने का सुनहरी मौका। मुल्क भर से दर्ज झील आसामियों की जरूरत है। ब्यूरो चीफ, डेप्यूटी ब्यूरो चीफ, वीडियो एडिटर, सिटी रिपोर्टर, तहसील रिपोर्टर, डिस्ट्रिक्ट रिपोर्टर, क्राइम रिपोर्टर, प्रेस रिपोर्टर, नुमाइंदा, नामह नगार। चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव सैयद जमशेद बुखारी। मजीद मालूमात के लिए इन नंबर्स पर राबिता करें।